Well, you see, you've got the soul, but you've got the spirit that activates on the body. And therefore, if you give instructions all the time, with a prayer in your heart, of course, you don't do it blandly, you ask with a prayer, and then with a prayer and with the thought that's with the prayer, miracles can happen. Think it, see it, day by day. Think it and see it, day by day. You're there. You're on. In regards to selfishness, you must realize that you've got to be aware. Begin, if you don't start now, begin to be aware. Be aware of when any incident in your life, be aware when you're saying, I don't. It's always I. Now, when you realize that you're saying I all the time, that means that you're selfish. Now, the point about selfishness is that you will gain no friends, you will also have no spiritual knowledge given to you, because your humility, you have none. All you have is me and I, and that is selfishness. Now, if you become aware that you are selfish, you will find then the awareness now will help you to turn yourself around mentally and start to think more positive. But while you're thinking selfishly, you won't get anywhere, and also you won't regain friends, people won't like you, but from the spiritual level, the energy is very low. But if you can change your mind and begin to be aware that you are selfish, do you want to go on like this with no friends? People say, oh, don't go to her, she's always thinking about herself or himself. So you don't want that. So please, I would say, be aware when you're saying I. Put the I on one side and say you. It's your friends, what they think, what they feel. And have that regard and respect for each one that you know. And stop that dreadful word I, because you get nowhere by working on that level. But if you work on a level of friendship, giving out a nice light to people, not only will you draw friends to you, but they will genuinely like you. And that's what you want. You don't want to be disliked. And that's the truth, you know, you don't. So put I on one side and say you, my friends, and think about how they feel. Where do they feel? And if you think that they need a little bit of a lift up, you give it. You give it. Not I. I is selfish. But if you say, no, I don't really want that world, I don't want to live on a low vibration, now that's the God within you telling you. Now you listen to it. And then when you listen to the God, God will say, give out your love to your friend, help her, help her. And that you will do, because you're turning around from the, shall we say, the negative side. You're turning around and you're willing to help your friend. And that is what your function is in life, is to help one another. When we came to earth from God, God gave us the free will. And he gave us what you call the higher and the lower self. But it all came from the great creator of all. He, in my estimation, which I know I'm right in this respect, he sent his children to the earth, to live on the earth. And consequences, he gave them free will to do good or to do bad. If they do good, it means they will be on the path slowly towards him again. But it, from the great light of all, He wants his children to have the experience of the earth life and to see how they, shall we say, behave in this life. If, for instance, now you keep within yourself the warm feeling of you want to go back to the Creator where you came from, so therefore you'll make steps to go that way. But the lower self says, ha ha ha, oh no, I'm going to stop your progress because I'm going to try to intervene and stop you from making those steps. And that is the fight in which God of all gave us free will, whether you go high or whether you go low. But if you go high, and that is your purpose, you'll find it'll guide you then. And also, shall we say, throw away any thoughts, because your intuition will realize, the lower energy is trying to get at me. No, I'm not going to have it. Because you've got that inner intuition that tells you that the lower self is having a go again. It's an inside battle.
Got you.
But when you realize that it is an inward battle, you think, what do I want to do? And I think, no, I want to follow the path upward. Yearning is a good thing because it gives within us what we really want.
Okay.
And when we know what we really want, we want to go into heaven. We want to live this life of joy, love and peace. It's a magnet within here. That's where we want to go. But the interference of the lower energy will keep on trying to knock it back all the time. But that's where free will comes in, where you've got to go inward and say, what do I want? Do I want to go down, or do I want to follow the path? And because you, shall we say, question yourself, don't go through the day willy-nilly. Every now and again, if it's only once during the afternoon, you say, which way am I going? Because during the day, the lower self can bring you lots of conditions that would make you go down. But you've got to always be on the ball, always alert, because it's always there, banging at the door.
So the soul is leading the body.
Oh, yes, yes.
The soul
Definitely.
is leading the body.
Yes.
If the body were to listen.
Yes. Yes, and that's the lower self that won't listen.
Correct.
But there's the other self, yes, they want to go upward.
But do you think that people generally need the help of a teacher?
The teacher has to make the terms simple, because the more simple it is, the more the person will understand what you're talking about. But it's intuitionally tuning into that person, because you know how much that person can understand. So you would only give them what they understand, and then wait for that to grow, and then they will ask questions. What did it mean when you said whatever? And we go on from there, slow but sure. But it will be sure, because you're building a brick, and that will never fall down.
And the interaction is also the interaction with the energy of the teacher.
Oh yes, oh
because
yes.
the words themselves are not enough.
Because the teacher has to have their own selves conviction, without a doubt, so that they're able then, because they experience it and they know it, because of that, they can then give towards the person that they're talking to. And that person, because of the personality and the, shall we say, the light within them, changes their thoughts, and they begin to listen to you. And then they would ask a question. Now, if they don't ask a question, you have to leave it for the seed to grow. And they may come back then, maybe ages later, and say, oh, by the way, I've been thinking so much about what you've been talking about. Well, what did you mean about that? Could you say something? And now I said, well, what is it that puzzled you from the last time? And then they would go on from there. But the seed had grown, so they were able to come back and ask, what did I mean? Or they visited me. And I said, well, I would be the one to say, how did you get on? Have you thought any more? Yes, I have, but I don't quite understand it. Tell me what you don't understand. And that goes on from there.
So you really want to get them to be inspired and curious.
That's right, yes. And because I know their inner self would lead them then to all sort of situations for them to understand more, you know. But as long as you got them started, seed as it is, but it doesn't matter. Let that be done.
Tell us about your way of meditation. How do you go into stillness? How do you remain in that zone, in that moment?
Well, in my meditation, I seem to be floating and going up. And as I go up, I see a light. Oh, it's a beautiful light. But I also see a 7-pointed star. And that star is very, very important in the spirit world. It means knowledge, it means kindness, love, in other words, love. And if you could reach that star, it's like as though a blaze of light comes out of that star. And the light, shall we say, goes over you. And in that meditation, you go up and you draw from that wonderful, dazzling light. And as it comes down through the body, you find that it has to water down a little bit because the physical body can't take the, shall we say, the enormity of the light that you've reached. But nevertheless, each time you do a meditation, you find you go a little higher and a little higher and a little higher until you reach the lake of peace, I called it. And I took them from the bottom up and up to each level, and I took them up until they came to this wonderful glowing lake. And from the lake they sort of rays of warmth, and you sat beside that lake, you put your fingers trickling into the water, and it was so warm and loving, and you found that you wanted to sit there forever because the peace that came from that beautiful lake filled your heart with warmth and with love, and you felt as though it could go on forever. First, I want all peoples to realize that they have God within them. Loads of people, lots of people meditate, and in meditation they are able to reach the pinnacle in which their soul wants them to meet together. But many people don't realize that being quiet and being still would be so wonderful for them eventually, because when you're quiet and when you're still, you go up and up onto different levels until you reach what I call the pinnacle of all, and that is the divine light. Now, once you have reached that point, then your whole body is filled with love, warmth, and knowledge. Knowledge that comes from the world of spirit, because you've opened your mind, and because of that they're able to communicate with you by thought, by impression. It doesn't matter, but they will give you the knowledge that you need for the moment of the time that you're with someone that needs it. It is not spent unduly all over the place, only knowledge to people that need it, and therefore the one that is going to give that knowledge will be impressed. Thought, feeling, and knowingness, and without the knowing they will want to be able to talk about what they have been given.
but you refer to divine knowledge coming through.
Yeah. It requires, shall we say, discipline, and it did desire in your heart to be true. This is what you want, and you ask in humility that you will be helped to reach it. But you must have that humility in the asking. You can't say in mind, well, this is what I want to do, I'll just acquire it, and, you know. No, there's got to be a loving compassion in your heart. You want to serve. You want to serve Spirit, and you want to serve your fellow man in whatever capacity that you can do so. That is your wish. And what could be better than that? Because wishing to help others is the golden light and the compassion that's in the heart. So therefore, I would say, quietness, stillness, just being quiet. If you cannot, in your mind, let go. But just be quiet with nothing in your mind. And the only thing in your mind is a compassion to do more for your fellow man. And I think if you do that, that in itself would be a meditation.
And to do it often.
Yes, to do it often, yes. Oh yes, not now and again, once a week or once when you think about it. It's got to be done daily, and if it's possible, not always in this life that we live, but if it's possible, either the same morning, lovely if you could do it at the same time, same place, whatever. But if you can't, well, try if you can to make it, shall we say, a quiet time that you can do this. It's not always possible in our busy life now, and yet on the other hand, saying that,
It's necessary.
this is most important, more important than if you have to get there at a certain time or what you've got to do. This is important because it's the connection between you and the soul, and that is the big thing, because it is that carries you through and gives you the wisdom that you need for your fellow man. So many people live their lives every day without thinking at all. And the time has come now, because there's a great movement going on in the world at the moment. There's a big change coming over, because we can't stay the way we are. We've got to move on. And in the spiritual world, there is indeed a big movement going on. And this movement affects every man, woman, and child on the earth plane. It affects them in this way, where you begin to realize that there's more to life than just eating and drinking. And when you get that change of thought, it means then that you're ready to go on to the next step. And the next step then would give you much more knowledge of what's going on around you, because so much in the spirit world at the moment is going, it's tremendous. There's what you call a revolution of love. There's a big opening of healing centers. Everybody seems to have come to life, and they acknowledge that there are more things in life. Well, you see, to bring in the golden age, shall we say, is there. But it can't come in while the world is in that disarray. So there's got to be this kind of upheavals, floods, earthquakes, boom, 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 breaking up what you call the world like that. A reason. The reason is for the benefit of mankind. Then, when all this settles and moves away, the golden age can come in. And when it does come in, my golly Moses, there's temples of the meditation, temples to be able to do astral traveling, temples for healing, temples for anything that a person's got a flair for. That will come in, making it so that it's a good world. But before it can come in, the old world, which is full of heavy matter, heavy thinking. It's got to be pushed away, but only by willing people to listen to the seed that's planted in them, for them to, shall we say, help to move the world or the planet around. But it's going to happen no matter what happens, because the earth, as you can see, there's floods, there's all these, what people say, awful things happening. But unfortunately, if they could only figure out in their minds, or you need someone to explain to them and say to them, look, this is what's happening. A new world is coming, but the old world has got to go. It's got to be destroyed. It's no good. So don't hang on to the old world. Say you don't like this, you don't like the earthquakes, you don't like that, you think it's horrible, horrible, but remember it's for a good reason, because all that's breaking up and going away, but the new world is there. And once the old world and all the prejudices and all the lower thoughts and the cruelty, all this will be pushed back to the golden age, where these wonderful souls, loving souls, will come in and they will start, shall we say, creating good, love, wonderful vibrations, making the world, the old world, far away. When I'm talking about people, I'm talking about now energies. The energies, the new energies coming in. And the people that are here already will have to go to places to, shall we say, learn. They're going to relearn and be taught. They'll be all right, they'll be fine, but they've got to go somewhere else, enabling then space for the new ones to come in. But it will be a magnificent, it's there already, people already feel the change. They can feel it in the way they are. They have what you call a new perspective of their own lives. They feel the inspiration to do more. And that is, when you get that inspiration to do more, it means that's the golden age coming in.
But that inspiration is more in tune with the younger people.
Oh, yes. But I think you'll find that these people that are sticking hard to their own, shall we say, ways of life or thought, they will be what I call gently and lovingly put on one side, where they can relearn and allow then the younger energies coming in. But everything will be in harmony. Everything is in harmony.
So in fact you are very optimistic.
Oh yes, very. The new world is there. We've got to sort of get used to the idea of a new world coming in, but also to try to live the best way you can in this world, but it's moving away because you've got different perspective perhaps, a different kind of inspiration, and you'll find it's not quite the same as it used to be. And that's how I can explain it, is change. Questions?